Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you've been following my channel, you've seen that I did all kinds of repairs and replacements and modifications, upgrade on this particular W212 vehicle. On one of my videos that I've been replacing, when I've been replacing wheel bearing, I discovered there's a pretty heavy rust on the strut itself, and there was a slight wetness on the bottom of the strut. Maybe it happened because of the boot was not sitting properly after 10 years, so I zip tied it, as you can see, to hold it in place, but maybe it was already too late. Well, 10 years, this is a good this is a long time for any strut to be in service. Should be replaced, I would say, every 100,000 miles or close to this date. As long as you have proper tools, this is not that hard of a procedure. I'll be showing you what kind of tools I'm going to use, what kind of parts I'm going to install, and I chose to go with a Bilstein this time. They promised me that it's going to be same quality of the shock, same ride, same soft ride, and they have a really great warranty, so we'll see about that. I did not go over how to raise the vehicle, put on a jack stand, choke your wheel, remove the wheel. This is pretty basic. If you don't know how to do that, then maybe you should not do it yourself. Anyway, you will be starting with removing this nut right here. This is an 18mm nut. You will need a Torx L-shaped wrench, probably to hold the actual spindle, like a actual bolt itself, because it's going to spin. Once you start spinning this nut, it's going to spin all together with the bolt. Then in order to remove the two strut bolts right here, it's a E18 if I'm not mistaken, you will need to remove this bracket. It's not that hard, there's only one nut here and the one bolt that holding this bracket. Then you just slide it out. I'll show you. After that, this is a very easy removal of those three bolts. The last bolt, you wanna wait until you hold it with your hand underneath and then remove the last bolt. Otherwise the strut is going to drop down and maybe even damage your drive axle boot. Anyhow, stay tuned, let's start it. So as I said, you need a 18mm wrench. In my case I have an offset wrench and Torx 40. This is what you need to hold the middle spindle. Now, if you never removed this nut before, this is my recommendation to use some kind of penetrating oil. Clean it with a metal brush if you have one. If not, at least lubricate it, so let it soak and penetrate. It's for easy removal. Same right here. It's a 16mm nut, and just use a little bit of this penetrating oil. And the two bolts that you will be removing on the strut, just spray it a little bit and let it soak. Okay, well, I loosened my nut, removed it, very easy, and just put on the side that it will not be on your way. Now the next step is removing the 16mm nut, and the next step, you wanna get closer to this bolt right here on the back. So this is a Torx. This is a Torx 18 and pretty long bolt. Once you remove this nut and this bolt, this entire bracket will slide out, and then you will have access to those two bolts for the strut. Now you can always move your wheel to the entire hub to any position. If you're working on this side, you can just with your hand move it in or out, as long as your other side wheel is off the ground. Now the plastic clip, there is a plastic clip, so you slide it out and only then this entire plastic goes to the left. Slide out from this and this spot, from those two holes. And as you can see, my strut is pretty rusty. Well, I've been driving a lot to Canada up north, and they have salt on the road, so I'm not surprised. So I'm going to remove those two bolts right here, 2 bolts and 2 nuts. I strongly recommend to use an impact gun for those big bolts, because if you never remove them before, then you might have a hard time of removing those 2 nuts. Once you remove those 2 nuts, you can hammer them out, both of them, but be careful, because the next step that your entire hub is going to drop down. So I'm going to put a jack underneath to hold it, or wooden block. This is how I use my jack underneath, as long as it's not touching the brake shield, dust shield cover. And then I'm removing the last bolt. I use a punch to help it, and now my strut is free, as you can see. Now all I need to do is remove 2 bolts, and then the last one, as I said, I'll be removing while I'm holding the strut underneath with my other hand to avoid dropping it down. Now before you're going to remove the last 2 bolts, try to memorize how the strut mount is secured in this cup. You can always mark it for yourself so you remember how it is. Now after you remove all 3 bolts, be gentle when you will be pulling it out, so your strut will not be touching the axle boot or any of the brake caliper boots, and just slide out like this. Now this is the same strut I'm hoping that I'm going to install, so let's compare it before I'm going to disassemble it, just in case. You never know if all of the mountings, brackets is the same. Looks the same to me, so I'm ready to disassemble this old strut. You can always mark how spring was sitting. So you're going to put exactly the same way and align it with the new spring, new strut. Now when it comes to a strut compressor, there's so many of them on the market. You can rent one from the local auto parts store. Because I'm working on my vehicles pretty often and some other vehicles, I decided to buy my own strut compressor. This one has a special top bracket which is made for few vehicles. Has a special cutouts, as you can see, so I'm going to show you how it fits. But the brand will be Canvik Scan Grip. It's this strut compressor made in Denmark, and yeah, I believe the Baum Tools used to sell them. It was on sale, so I bought it. It comes with 2 sets of jaws, big ones and the small ones for the rear, and it's going to fit 75% of all vehicles. Now this particular adapter, I had to buy it separately because they make those for Mercedes-Benz, for BMW, for other vehicles, so you have to buy this separately. So let me show you how I'm going to install it on the strut and compress it. Now again, this is a pretty dangerous procedure because the spring is dangerous itself, so make sure that you're going to rent or buy yourself a good quality compressor that is not going to fail on you, will not slip from those jaws and damage yourself, others, or other property. Pretty dangerous procedure to work with struts. Be careful. Now I compressed it enough. Just make sure that you're going to have jaws grabbing for the lowest coil as you can, because for example, If you would have two jaws for such a short spring, you would have to compress it a lot right here. That's why this particular strut compressor, they make in special adapters so you can compress it over the top. And by the way, it will not damage if you're planning to reuse this one. I'm going to put new one, so I don't really care, but still nice that all of those cutouts are made for that you can reuse the top mount. Now next is prying out this plastic cap and with a small screwdriver, and then you will find Torx and 21mm nut. This is the original strut set. It's made for removing those nuts. As you can see, it's a go through sockets with a Torx bit going through, so you can hold it with the provided wrench and twisting it with half-inch socket ratchet with your other hand. Well, this is pretty expensive set. It was also on sale, pretty good price, and I bought it directly from Germany on Amazon.de, because they sometimes you save 25-30% over buying from the US Amazon. Anyhow, there is a knockoff sets like this, cost half of the price or maybe even quarter of the original price as this set, but yeah, I'm planning to use it for many years. That's why I bought the original made in Germany set. So I'm going to loosen this nut, remove it completely and pull out the strut. And 25 seconds later I remove the nut. Now I'm ready to pull out my strut. Well, the zip tie is holding that boot that I installed like a year ago, with the hope that it's going to help me to save the strut for a few more years. And because all of the dirt, salt getting on the shaft itself right here on the seal, and it's damaging that seal. Well, 10 years later I see that bumper is in perfect shape. I bought the new one, but I could reuse the old one if so. If you can see, there is evidence of oil that came out from this strut, so that's why I'm replacing it. Now the rubber that was the insulator between the actual strut and the spring, I'm going to clean it and reuse it. I didn't buy a new one because this one in excellent shape. Okay, and I also purchased a new bumper that I'm going to install it, because I think the new one, I'm purchasing all of those parts from autorock.com, by the way. And the new bumper, let's see here, just 1 second. Okay, so let's compare it, the lengths. As you can see, new bumper is on the left and it's not as compressed as this one that's been compressed for the last 10 years, so I'm going to use a new one. It's original, made in Germany. I also going to use a new mount. This is the part number of the mount, by the way, made in Turkey. And I'm going to use a new mount bearing. Yeah, there is a balls in between those two parts, and this is the part number, made in Slovak Republic, made in Slovakia. So I'm ready. Now I need to decompress my spring to remove the top insulator from the top mount, and I can clean this piece and this round piece in the same time. What I wanted to show you, that the seal is completely wet right here, and that's why I felt like a little even tiny bumps under my floor when I put my foot on the floor and driving on a straight road. It was a little vibration, I could feel it, so I'm assuming that on the top it was not holding that much. I mean, it's springing back right away. It's supposed to be slow, but it's springing back, and that's why I'm replacing it. By the way, after decompressing, make sure that you remember which side is the bottom. So in my case, I see those 4 dots, plus I can mark it right here, so I know this is going to on the bottom of the strut, not upside down. I want to put in the same position. Now after I decompressed it, now I can remove this strut mount, which is actually fell apart in my hand. It's still okay, I don't see any missing balls. Not every hole is filled, but and there is enough grease. But but I have a new one, and I also going to install a new boot, because this boot was in very rough shape after 10 years, and maybe that was the cause of faulty failed strut. Maybe it's failed on its own because it's 10 years old, but I'm going to replace it with a new boot, and I got the original one for $19. The part number 212-323-0392, and it feels much softer, not as plastic as original boot after so many years. So now I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove this with a screwdriver, I guess, and clean this plastic that I'm going to reuse. Okay, so I cleaned everything, and everything is really good shape. By the way, this piece that's going to go on the top of the spring, make sure that you're going to align with the same spot where the end of the spring was sitting. You will see a mark, so you want to put it exactly in the same spot. Maybe it does not matter, but I think it's going to sit properly if it's on the same mark. Now then it's going to be the plastic bearing. Well, actually no, too early. Now it's going to be a boot that's going to sit, and then the plastic bearing is going to sit really snug, and only then it's going to be the mount, top mount. Now the bottom piece is going to go on the strut itself, and make sure that it's in good condition. As you can see, this is rubber with molded in metal plate on the bottom. Mine is, I cleaned it in good shape. It was not rubbed through, but if yours is not the same, then maybe you want to put a new one. And there is only one way how you can install it. There is no other options. It's going to sit on its own spot perfectly. Okay, and this is the last one after I'm done with compressing the spring. So let's put into the spring compressor. Now my spring is compressed, almost touching the last coil, the actual boot itself, so I know that it is compressed. Now this one only going one way, just like this, and then I'm going to make sure that you will have this installed. It's my fallout, but you can install it in between the coil and the strut later if needed. But so I'm going to install it like this, and then align it right here to see the you see the bolt that came out, and now I'm going to retighten it with a nut if I can. If not, I need to compress it a little bit more. Now tighten the nut as much as you can by hand. You don't have to hold the middle rod yet, so maximum that you can. And then after you will decompress the spring, you can tighten all the way to the end, because your spring is going to decompress it and hold that shaft for you, so you don't even have to hold the middle Torx shaft. Now when it comes to installing this back in place, make sure that your end of the spring is going to go against this metal notch that is made by the factory, so it's going to be like a stopper for the spring. So slowly decompress the spring, and then you can twist the actual strut before you're going to remove the compressor tool. As you can see, the strut is still movable because the spring is still compressed, so make a proper adjustment so the end of the spring will be against this stopper. Well, this is it. Now the top mount can be moved to any position when you will be aligning it with the vehicle, and yeah, this is how it's sitting. And this can be rotated. As you can see, it's on an angle, so make sure it's going to face the same way as you marked it before. Well, it's only one position actually on the vehicle, but still you can make a mistake. So for example, you remember when I've been marking 1, 2 all the way here across the bracket, and it's supposed to be like this, because the original motor mount, I marked it right here, and this is the shape of the motor mount. This is exactly the same shape, as you can see. So more or less will be across from those two holes. Okay, well, I'm ready to install, except there is a little imperfection in this, so you want to make sure that it's popped out. None of them are bent, those rubber ribs. If you cannot do it by hand, take a little forceps, as long as you don't damage the rubber. Look around, and if none of them are, well, I have more. Yeah. Make sure that they all perfect, otherwise this rubber boot is not going to work as a spring, because it's work itself as a spring. And by the way, look on the bottom, brand new boot is sitting perfectly, it's clicked in its position, and none of the dust, rocks, salt will be getting into the shock shaft itself and the seal. That's how tight it's supposed to be. So I really do recommend to put a new rubber boot every time you replace it. Yeah. Now the top one I'm going to retighten on the car, finish retightening it. Now I'm going to install everything back in place. Everything is looking perfect. This one against the metal stopper, the top one also in the same spot, so I'm good. I find it really easy to work with spring compressors, with the special adapters, to work over the top of the this mount instead of with the two jaws, one here and one here, because they might slip. And with this special hole and all of those cutouts, there is no chance that it can slip out. Now the last is going to be installing this protective plastic, and it's also going to be locked in only in one position to take its own shape. Now I'm going to clean all of this underneath area to make everything perfectly clean, and installing in the same reverse order as I was removing. Now one thing that I wanted to mention about this stopper right here: if it's sitting on the edge of your spring, after you decompressed it, simply take a punch and punch it a little bit down so it will be on the middle of the spring itself. This will help you to secure it in place, just in case. Okay, well, there's one more. Okay. Now I punched that tab, that stopper, and it's sitting exactly on the middle of the spring itself, so I know that it's going to be good stopper. Yeah. Okay. Basically, I don't think there is a reason to show you how to put everything back in place. Same reverse order that as I removed, and yeah, pretty straightforward procedure. My goal was to show you the difference on the quality of well, I did not have a cheap strut compressor to compare it with, but if you look at other YouTube videos, you will see some people are struggling with compressing a spring because they don't have proper jaws or proper adapter, and it's pretty dangerous procedure. So my goal was to show you that you really need proper tool, and show you all of those little points, how the spring is going to sit properly, where that stopper is, the rubber insulator and the rubber boot, how it's supposed to sit nice and snug, so no dirt is going to get inside of the underneath of that boot and damage your strut. Well, put everything back, couple bolts, retorque them according to the specification. I'm going to leave in the description below how much torque on each bolt will be, or you can Google it. Your local dealer also can help you with the torque information. Other than that, I hope that those Bilstein shocks will be as soft as original, so I'll let you know later if anyone will be interested how soft it is. So I'll let you know, just write me a question. I hope that was helpful for somebody who has W212 E250 or E350. As long as this is not the air suspension and 4matic, it's the same procedure. Good luck, guys. God bless you. God bless America, Canada, and Ukraine. Bye.